Hello, Blackberry here, and today we're gonna go over the Sindel versus Kotal Kahn matchup. So this is actually a matchup that when I first got on this game, I really had to overcome as a Sindel player. I would always play people in rank that would either start on Kotal or would counterpick to Kotal because I was always a Royal Adenian player, so it's a pretty zoning heavy variation, and they would use his tools to get around that. But before we get started, thank you guys so much for the support as usual. To anybody that's new to the channel, thank you for subscribing, and of course, if you're completely new and you haven't already, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you find this content enjoyable and want to see more. Also, for people that are enjoying these guides and they would like to see specific matchups, let me know in the comments below what you would like to see next. If I can't get to your specific matchup and you would like to book a session with me so we can go over it personally, that option is also available, and the link to my coaching services will be in the description below. But let's get started. So for this matchup, Kotal and Sindel pretty much want to do the same thing to each other, especially at this range, the round start range. They both have very strong normals between their forward 4 and forward 2 respectively. Kotal benefits from hitting at this range more than Sindel because it's going to do more damage. I mean, she hits you with a forward 4 up 3, it's going to do like 130, 120. You get hit by forward 2, not only is it confirmable into something, like if you have the launcher you get even more damage, but with the base variation, get the slicer, that still does decent damage. And on top of that, he's right next to you, so you get pressure on their wake up. And we all know how good Kotal's pressure is with his command grab and all that. Another aspect of this matchup that puts it in his favor is the fact that he has 1050 health, so he has more health than the average character. And on top of that, he can get his health back with Sun. The Sun, as you can see, progressively raises his health, and if you're caught in it, it will damage the opponent. And this can also kill. So essentially in this matchup, he can take a lot of hits from Sindel, but always be in the fight because he can constantly get his health back, and Sindel doesn't really do too much damage unless she's using a specific variation with haircut, but that also takes away a lot of her tools, which are pretty important. So we all know how godlike of a move forward 4 up 3 is because of how safe it is, and generally in most matchups the mind game after it is in her favor. Like, she can do it again, or she can cheese you out by doing something else as they try to, you know, come in with an attack. But in this matchup here, because forward 2 is pretty much forward 4, just with a little bit more range, it's gonna lock her down. So if she tries to do anything but block for the most part, she's gonna get caught. So I'll show you that in practice here. Another aspect of this matchup that puts it in Kotal's advantage is the fact that Kotal really just doesn't have to do too much. He just has to get life lead and sit in the sun while he gets his life back. Because as I mentioned before, Sindel's not really doing too much damage, and he already has a lot of health on top of, you guys can see how much health he's getting back just sitting here. So this forces Sindel to take a lot of risks to actually get the life lead back, because not only does he have the sun, but at any point he could use Tiger or Cat and go full screen to punish Sindel doing anything that would leave her open. So taking a closer look at Takuni Mall, or whatever, Cat, we'll just call it, it's a move that is completely projectile invincible when amplified. So if Sindel is trying to take advantage from full screen with her fireball, he can just Cat right through it and punish. So it's something you always have to look out for. On top of this, if you're at a certain range, because the fireball is low and the animation of the cat technically pops airborne at the startup, you might be able to get away with even just doing the regular version. There we go. Another thing about this move that's very annoying is that you can hit him out of this move, but if you're off by even a few frames, you'll get hit. So I'll show you. This is a move that, the move that I'm gonna do is actually a move that is supposed to be a punish to this attack, but I'm gonna do it a little late on purpose and you'll see what happens. So you see how it's hit there? The move was out and it just went completely through. Okay, so we finally made to the point of the video where I'll start talking about Sindel's counterplay to Kotal. I know it's a little weird that I go with the other characters' advantages first, but I feel like this gives you an overall picture of the matchup rather than just focusing on the advantages of Sindel. But anyways, jumping right in. So we talked a little bit about the forward 4 up 3 situation, and we're going to cover that again. So I will tell you things that you can do after this move to keep Kotal honest in this situation. So after forward 4 up 3, we already noted that you do it and you try to maybe take your turn back with forward 4 again or something else that's not blocking, you'll get hit, like right there. Alright, so first you need to identify if the Kotal that you're playing against dashes first and then does forward 2. A lot of Kotal players will dash into their forward 2 because they want to cover as much distance as possible, and they do it on pretty autopilot. Like, even if you punish them for it over and over, they'll probably keep doing it. So you need to identify that first. It is possible to do some of these options or this same option to stop his regular forward 2, but you'll most likely get hit. So if you've identified that the Kotal player is dashing into forward 2, you can 1-1 them to stop their approach. Another thing you can do, which is probably your safest bet, because if the Kotal player you're fighting adapts to what you're doing, they can punish you by just delaying their forward 2 and hitting your whiff recovery. So if you want to keep it safer and you have the amplify meter to do so, you can scream and it will hit every time. So yeah, you can scream just about every time, and if they just sit there and block, you know, you're safe because of the way scream hits on their block. But you can also do regular scream as well, and I'll show you that here. This does take timing because it's slower. And so the amplify stream also takes timing, but you have more leeway since it's a lot faster. But yeah, it's weird. I think that probably the reason why Scream works like that is because I think she moves her hitbox back when she starts, so that's probably what it is. Dude, that's really useful information for you guys. Scream after, and if you have the KB, then use it. And of course, you don't have to. If you just want to do it with just as an option to counter the approach, then you can. So another thing about this matchup concerning forward 4 is the speed. So Sindel does have the speed advantage in this department with forward 4, but what's weird about the matchup is that if you guys, like, if you put your forward 4 on the screen first, of course you'll beat Kotal out, but if you guys put your forward 2 and forward 4 on the screen respectively around the same time, Kotal will most likely win the situation. I'll show you guys now. That's a trade. I'm pretty much pressing them at the same time. Like, I'm pressing his a little bit first, because I'm doing it manually. But this is a pretty realistic scenario. So you guys see, like, most likely he'll win. You would have to, like, put yours on the screen first, even though you have the faster move. So that's a weird aspect about this matchup. So personally, if you don't really want to take the risk of eating a whole bunch of forward 2s, what I would do is wait for him to just come out and do it, because a lot of Kotal players, they're going to be super gung-ho with this move. So you can wait for him to do it and then, like, just try to whiff punish him with your forward 4. You could also do back 2 as well. Like, I hit a lot of back 2s against Kotals. Like I said, they like to throw that move out a lot because they're just not used to people reacting to it. So, you know, if you want to be on the safe side, just wait for him to do it, because he's definitely gonna do it, and then just punish him for it. So an advantage Sindel actually does have over Kotal, again, is the speed. Sindel is slow herself, but Kotal takes the cake when it comes to the slow department. And most of the moves that he has that are faster are high, so back 3, forward 1, stand 2, stand 4, stuff like that. 1, stand 1. So really the fastest thing he has to do is forward 3, which is 17, and besides that he has forward 2, of course, which is 19. So in a situation where you're staggering him or applying pressure, don't be afraid to try to steal your turn away from him. So, like, for example, I'm gonna do forward 4 and just down 1. And because he's taking his turn back with such a slow button, it's gonna hit him every time. And also a back 3 stagger is really good on him. So again, because Kotal players should know that their fastest options are highs, they'll probably take their turn with a high, and because you're already doing something like a down 4 or a down 1, you're just gonna go under it completely. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to take your turn back from him, because that's really an advantage that you need to abuse in this matchup because he's so slow. Because of this, it would force Kotal to start having to down 1 you back, which someone doesn't really want to take their turn back with down 1. Kotal does have a command grab situation after it that you have to respect, but yeah, you have to force their hand and do it, because even Kotal with such a strong option like that wants to put their best mid or their best high on the screen rather than committing to a down 1, because they will probably lose their turn again. So when it comes to Sunlight, there are a couple things you can do to actually punish him for it. And these are things you can react with if your reactions are super on point. Otherwise, it's like a semi-reactable situation, and you're using riskier options in some situations, like whip and flip. You see, like, I see it come out, I'm punishing it with the whip and flip. So if you can train your reactions to get to that point, you'll be pretty good. Just keep in mind that if you're at low health and you're in danger of dying, the damage over time will kill you, so keep that in mind. You can also react with Scream, and this is a lot safer of an option because you're not going to get punished for it from full screen, and if you hit, you obviously get the KB or just hit him out of it, and if it's blocked this, you just lose the meter. Alright, so getting back to Kotal's cat dash, he's going to be waiting for you to misplace a button or try to punish you for doing a fireball in an incorrect situation. So with this knowledge in mind, you gotta bait him, because realistically, Kotal is making a read with this move. Like, he can't necessarily react to it, to be honest. So you gotta play mind games with your fireballs from this range, and the closer you are, obviously, the stronger your fireball game will be against him, because he's just not going to be able to react. But for me, I'll try to bait him by doing stuff like just whiffing down ones, because I like to do this because it kind of, like, yeah, it's not the fireball, but see how it gives off this purple glow? I like to think that it tricks people into thinking that you're about to start off the fireball or doing the fireball, so they end up committing. But yeah, suggested punishes for the cat dash are going to be back 2 and forward 4. Forward 4 will be an easier button to react with. Back 2 is kind of weird because, as I showed you earlier, if you do it kind of late, you can just get hit for it. Like I did right there. You didn't even see it come out, but I did back 2 and got hit for it. But forward 4, you're like pretty much always going to be able to react with that, especially from full screen. But full screen you should be able to react with back 2 as well. It's just when he gets closer, it's tough. So I suggest forward 4. Alright, so remember how I said before, Kotal really has to just sit back in the sun and doesn't have to worry too much. So yeah, let's say that the Kotal is playing the matchup very smart and they're just sitting there blocking in the sunlight. What I like to do is, even though this is a risky option, I like to just constantly, like, apply pressure with fireballs from full screen. So not only can you get hit with the fireball if you time it correctly, but you're constantly chipping away at them and keeping their life around the range it was when they started the sunlight, because that's the key. You want to keep the life gauge controlled, because if you don't, then they just get a whole bunch of life back and you lose the advantage quickly. So that's something I like to do. Yes, you have to constantly worry about them doing cat, but if you space your fireballs and a good rhythm and a hard to read rhythm, then you can keep Kotal just kind of controlled in this situation. Or at least you might even be able to steal a life lead away from him if you are able to hit him with a couple of amplified fireballs. Oh, and last but not least, how could I forget? Of course, because Sindel's fireball is a low, you can go under his projectile. So if you do find yourself in this battle of attrition where you're fighting him in the sun and he's throwing fireballs at you, you can just go under it with your fireball. It even goes under the amplified projectile. Alright, well, that's gonna be it for the Kotal matchup breakdown. Thank you guys and girls, as usual, for watching, and hopefully I was able to give you guys even the tiniest bit of knowledge that you can use and apply it to your gameplay. Ideally, for me, after watching this, you guys should have a much better understanding of the matchup. And who knows, maybe you'll even make this guy rage the same way I did.
Yawn. You can teabag all you want. I can tell you this, it's either one or two things. You're obviously either a pro, your reaction times are way too fast, and Sindel is a piece of shit. If you're a pro and using Sindel, that's fucking pathetic, period. If that's not the case, oh well. And either way, even if you're a pro, you ain't beating Sonic Fox or Rewind or any of them boys, so you can go to tournaments and still make nothing. In other words, you play this game all day, all night, and make nothing. So just keep that in mind.